Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to our first episode of 2023. And I'm really, really excited that here with us is Elizabeth Cruz. Elizabeth is an amazing woman. I definitely admire her so much. And it is an honor for me to have her here because we've been spending the last year together doing a ton of collaborations, getting to know each other. But I want you to know a little bit more, behind the curtain. Who is Elizabeth? How, she got here, her struggles, her successes, and everything that she, has to share that composes who she is. Besides being a successful woman, she's a mom, she is a wife, she is a daughter, she is a sister, she is a cousin. So we want to know everything that, lies behind all the success we see with Elizabeth on a daily basis. So welcome, Elizabeth. How are you?
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure being around you and learning from you and getting all that positive energy.
Oh, it's hard to keep the positive energy, but we have to. We definitely
Exactly.
have to. If we don't do it, who's going to do it for us, right?
Exactly.
So tell
Exactly.
us, Elizabeth, who are you, and you know what was your journey? How did you got here today?
Sure. Sure. So first of all, I was born in Puerto Rico in Yabucoa. We came here when I was a toddler, and I'm the youngest out of nine. So I've been always the quiet one, observing everything, applying lessons learned even when I was little. I was like, that happened to my sister, it's not going to happen to me. She got married too young, I'm not going to get married too young. So I believe all along, since my childhood, I've been applying lessons learned without even knowing it. And, I was the first one to go to college and graduated from college. My mom was old school. She meant well, but she always said, you need to get married and have a husband take care of you. Why are you going to school? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Mom, I want to go to school. I want to be self sufficient. But she never really understood that. And I respected her. It got to a point when I was like 25 because I kept saying, I get married at 25. I get married at 25. That I said, that she asked me, when are you going to get married? I'm like, Mom, never. Don't ask me. I'll let you know when I get married. So it was a little bit of a difference, right? Culture is like, you're going to be an old maid, blah, blah, blah. But I always was very firm in doing what I think was right. I always wanted to be self sufficient. Didn't matter how long it would take me, but I felt like, the struggles that my sister had, that they always end up coming back home to my mom. I was like, I don't want to do that. So I think it was great that I learned from them and not did the same mistakes they did. But also, it took me to the level of I always been the type that I don't give up. I always say, okay, if you can do it, I can do it. It may take me a little bit longer than you, but I'm going to do it. So I always had that mindset. So, when I went to college, it was the same thing. I was the only female in most of the class because I went for computer science, believe it or not. But, backtracking to that, I went to travel school. I wanted to be a flight attendant. So I went to travel school, and there I learned. Um, I got an interview through American Airlines, and there was five groups of interview of seven ladies. And they said, if you can't make the interview, don't bother to cancel because this is it. So when I ended up going to travel school, I learned Lotus 1, 2, and 3, which a lot of people don't know what that is, but that's Word right now, Microsoft Word. And so I said, oh, I told the instructor, I want to learn how to write this. She goes, what do you mean? I said, I want to learn how to create the screen. And she goes, oh, that's programming. I said, all right. And that's how I ended up going to computer science degree. And I was um, the only female in my class most of the time. And I had to prove myself, not only as a Latina, but as a woman taking these classes. that was supposed to be for men.
Yeah, I mean, at that moment in time, not only the field was new, but having a woman in the field, that was unheard of.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I had to prove myself, and I always been the one that I'm very focused. So I would go right up to the first seat in the classroom. I always was in front of the teacher there, learning and grabbing all the information that I can get. And because of that, I ended up, graduating in honors because I was very focused to making sure that I would succeed, especially with the people putting pressure on me because I was the only female.
Wow. So tell me a little bit more. You graduated, eventually you got married because you have a beautiful son and an amazing husband.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so never say never.
exactly, exactly.
But you have grown into being this amazing staple icon and influencer within the Latino community, helping hand on hand every single person having a better opportunity of growth, a better opportunity to create wealth. So how did that came to be?
So ever since, I went to college and I was the only female, one of the first community events that I did was Clark University was putting together a group of professional women to come in and really talk about what type of work you do and sort of motivate the Latinos and the minorities into becoming professionals and to see that if you go to college, you take a specific course, degree, you will become that professional. So I went to that, and it was a really amazing experience because when we asked everyone in the audience who wanted to be in computer science, no one except one boy, Japanese, raised his hand. But when they asked the majority if they wanted to be social services, the majority of Latinos would raise their hand. So I was like, wait a minute, I know by nature we are very nurturing, and we always take care of our elderly, our family, our brothers and sisters, and mothers. So I kind of knew that was different for me to not follow the traditional professional that Latinas do, becoming nurses, teachers, social workers. So I knew that I had to do some work into motivating and empowering girls to go into computer science. So out of that experience, I started working with the community and mentoring girls to go into science and computer, especially Latinas. So can you hear me okay? Because it looks like my
Yes.
screen is frozen.
Uh, yeah, it's freezing from time to time, but it's okay.
Okay,
We can hear you
okay.
just fine. That is absolutely amazing. I think opening that door, especially to young girls, at that moment in time, is something that, it was probably revolutionary, right? Because there was not a lot of people or women talking about going into that field.
Right.
My daughter loves robotics, and I'm so happy we are so close to WPI because they do have a program for young girls starting at age. I think Veronica started taking robotics classes in college when she was 5 years old,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
every year she goes to a different program, right? And it is taught by college students that are going through robotics, but 20, 30 years ago that did not exist, right? Like
No.
you couldn't even think about setting foot in college or anything like that because it
Exactly.
wasn't it wasn't promoted. So how opening that door, now you're more involved with the community, you're seeing the need. How have that grown to what is that you do today, and how you help others today.
Sure. So out of, going in the community, I met this one gentleman who was a broker. And he says, you speak both languages, you articulate well, why don't you go into becoming a realtor? And I'm like, all right, I like helping people. So I kind of jump on that as a hobby, helping people, not really thinking about the money. And I loved it. It's a different satisfaction from creating software and really different satisfaction from getting somebody a new home or new investment property. So I really fell in love with that and more helping people making changing lives. And as a result of that, he also sponsored me for a leadership program. So United Way had a Latino Leader of the Future program, which I took. And that sort of just opened the door more for me to get involved in the community. And this was back like 30 years ago. And so out of that, I ended up doing a lot of, empowerment women again, right, into now building wealth and changing the mindset of, you go to college and you have an earned income and that's it. You need to have multiple stream of income, and one of them is really changing the myth about being landlord. I mean, if you have a good system in place, it is a great way to create passive income and to build a portfolio and eventually end up selling all your multifamilies and getting a small strip mall and what have you. So I have an Empowering Women Through Real Estate program that I started in 2019. We sort of stopped doing that during the pandemic, but we're going to start that again in 2023 because out of that we got like 5 women to become landladies, and the majority were young millennials. So it was exciting to see that.
And I loved it. Like I remember going to a couple of your seminars that you were doing with Rosa. And there is so many women out there that want to learn and that are eager to do something different and that are extremely smart and looking for ways of actually being primary providers, right? So
Yeah.
it is amazing, just stepping out there and saying, hey, I have this knowledge and I have this space. Come, let's learn together. Let's grow together. Let's just help each other because the thing is that there is not enough of those spaces. I think now more than before, but they could be national, they could be unaffordable sometimes. So having these small community places where people can go, where people can identify with, that is targeted by demographic or overall saying welcome, we're here to help, right?
Right.
It makes a big difference just because not a lot of them know where to start, like who's out there who can help them. So i think
Exactly.
i think it's amazing, that we are able and in that position to do things like this.
Yeah.
So
And not only that, but I mean, when I look at my client base and I look at, who are my first time home buyers, the majority are Latinos. Who are my second home investment home buyers? Latino mixture. But who are my multi-million dollar investors? Not Latinos. They're all, either from Pakistan, from India, from Japan, China, you name it, Lebanese, Syria. I have all these different ethnic groups that are non-white that are buying properties that are investing. So I was trying to figure out, okay, what are they doing? How did they get started? So I can help the Latino community move to that stage in their investment portfolio. And a lot of them started with just a single multifamily. And then they kind of invested, utilized their equity, and reinvest back in the community, and then utilize 1031 exchanges, then utilize opportunities on. There's so many, or grants. There's so many activities out there. I mean, grants and opportunities that Latino don't really know where to go. So I wanted to really get certified in commercial, which I am. I'm a specialist in commercial real estate. So I've been helping a lot of Latinos, or at least encouraging them to really think outside the box and really start investing on big properties so that they can eventually have 20, 30, units and be able to buy multifamily, multi-million dollar properties. So that's one thing I noticed was that my client base was diverse, but the different categories of investment were different. And I thought there needs to be a bridge for us to really, really close that racial wealth gap between Latinos and non-Latinos, especially people that are not white that are buying in these properties. So I felt like there's a need to do that. The other thing too is that, because of that, I was really very interested being having three businesses. I have an IT consulting business, I have a property management business, and I have a real estate business. So being an entrepreneur myself, that's why LABO, the Latin American Business Organization, really came into play because I really believe in their mission. And the fact that I've been doing this since 30 years, knowing that the Latino are lacking role models, are lacking resources, are lacking opportunities, are lacking someone to say, hey, you can do this, from starting from science, computer science, all the way to investment, all the way to small businesses. I felt like this is great. This is what I've been doing for 30 years. So it was great to be able to be the president of this and been given the opportunity to take levels to where it deserves to be, to that next level.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, what can we expect from Elizabeth in the next few months?
Well, there's not enough hours in the day to do what I want to do, but I would continue to I will continue to make sure that we educate our community. And one of the other things I want to highlight on is that we need to change the narrative of how Latinos are being perceived. And I think that in educating ourselves about the contributions we're making to this country, how powerful economically and voting we are, we need to capitalize on that and really, really educate ourselves. And I think there's a lack of this. 77% of Latinos do not know how much they're contributing to the United States, and that is a shame because the GDP is 2.9 trillion. And that
Yes,
is
it is.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, what I like to do for the next few months is,
Mhm.
I attended the Hispanic Leadership Summit in New York, and our homework is to make sure that we educate the community about our position and our contributions to this country, and to make sure that every organization out there, there are different levels of the organization, from janitor, cook, all the way to CEO to board of directors, should reflect the demographic changes that are happening in the United States. So by 2060, one out of three is going to be Latino. And right now you see it. You go everywhere. You go to Italian restaurant. Who's doing all the cooking? Latino. You go to, in, so many different places.
Farming,
McDonald's. Yeah. So
everything.
I think we need to really show the, change the narrative, because we're not all about entitlement. Give me welfare, give me food stamps. Right? We are working hard, and we are a population that is young, and also a population that is basically going to college, creating businesses every day, and opportunities. And so I think that we need to change that. So in the next few months, I like to continue that message. I like to continue to educate the community about, how much we're contributing, and also to, further our mission to increase Latin and minority businesses and economic prosperity and growth.
Fantastic, fantastic. I love it, Elizabeth. And then I always have one question for every guest in my podcast. Well, maybe two or three. What is a book that you can recommend to women listening today that made a big difference for you?
Wow, I read so many books. I
I
really
know
do.
you're a reader. This is the wrong question for you.
I have over 1,000 books. You know, one of the things, if you want to be a leader, if you want to capitalize on leadership, Dr. John Maxwell has excellent books on that. In fact, he has a certification, both in Spanish and English, that you could take so that you can start really offering these type of leadership courses and webinars and what have you. So he just has a new one out, which I'm dying to read. I think it's called Influential or something like that. But if you want to learn from lessons, you know, there's so many books out there, and I have so many different authors that I read. In fact, I'm reading one right now from Frank Beckgood. He talks about the title is How to Raise Myself from Failure to Success in Selling,
Very nice.
and that's a really good book. And I'm taking a lot of golden nuggets from everything. So what I do with all the books that I read is I take little pieces here and there, and I come up with my own sort of book, right? With all these things that
Yeah.
I learned from so many people. But the other thing in the business world, in the sales world, if you want to read the one thing that
Okay.
is that is a really good book. I mean, I have a list of books, but anything that you can do to really improve your people skills, improve your leadership skills. The other
Mhm.
thing I would say, if you are intimidated by speaking, go to a Toastmaster class, or take a public speaking or art of persuasion class, conflict resolution class. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there.
I love it. I love it. And what is a message of empowerment that you can give them to our listeners? What is a message that you are, you know, do this or, you know, remember that? What can you tell our listeners today?
Wow, I have so many messages. What I would say is, the most critical thing is to surround yourself with people who would uplift you, people who would work with you to make sure that you continue to grow. Um, when you become a successful at a specific level, you need to really surround yourself with people that are above you, because you want to learn. So there's a saying that says millionaires hang out with millionaires, right? And it's not that they want to be arrogant and conceited, is that they want to learn from each other and get to the next level. And I think if you surround yourself with the right people who have the right mindset, who is willing to grow and empower and bring people along with them instead of closing the door behind them, because I believe a good leader does not close the door behind them.
Right.
Then you want to hang around with those people, network, get to learn, um, learn from people who have gone there, done that, and mentor someone who was in your position 5 years ago. Mentor someone, and then find someone to mentor you.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Elizabeth, so much for
Thank
being
you.
here with us today, for sharing your story. I cannot wait to see what 2023 has in store for all of us, and especially
Thank
you.
you.
I mean, you've break so many barriers in the past year is unbelievable.
Thank
And
you.
and let's just keep crushing and being an inspiration like you are for everyone around you. I really appreciate you and thank you for taking the time for being here today.
Thank you. And I have two more books coming out hopefully this year. So
Yay!
thank you.
Awesome. All right. Have an amazing day.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.